And we're back. OTD Pod with a special edition. Maybe not so special. We'll try to keep this going as much as we can from a week to week basis. But here we are. It's your boy Skull. It's your boy Tom. Your favorite Knicks fans of the OTD Pod crew. Shed some fat maybe for this season. Vibes are a little weird, I feel like, with some of our Celtics fans on the other side, but it is what it is. But yeah, we're gonna try our best to give you guys the brave that listen to this pod as much of an update on the Knicks as we can every week. So this is our first go at it. I think we just talked about there's going to be some good vibes thrown around right now, and that's kind of where we want to leave it. As the season goes on, we'll have a little bit more X's and O's, a little bit more critiques. But I think right now we're riding pretty high, and we just wanted to get out there and talk about it. So, like, fuck it, here we are. Um, Real quick though, let's give a little introduction as to why we're Knicks fans, right? I mean, there have been a whole bunch of trials and tribulations to get to where we're at. Like I said, happy spot, but coming from the Nate Robinson era, which is when I first started watching, I literally had to like convince my dad to like put the games on. Mans was just watching college ball, and I was like, Dad, what's our basketball team? What's our NBA team, right? He was like, "Oh yeah, the Knicks." And I'm like, "Oh, are they good?" And I'm tuning into Chris Duhon, Nate Robinson, like the ghost of Eddie Curry, like just rough, right?
Dude.
Isaiah Thomas. Oh my God, the dark days of the Knicks. But shout out, our guys in the front
Until David
office.
Lee, dude. Until David Lee,
Yo,
the White Knight.
sh- that shout out David Lee. Honestly, there are some legends from those days that we'll never forget. Chris Duhon, for example, I loved him. But yeah, David Lee and those guys, Jamal Crawford. Shout out Jamal Crawford, newest addition to the MSG
Yeah,
commentary
he's
crew.
back on the team, dude. Let's go.
That has back on the team, doing a good job on road games now because Clyde ain't about that life anymore. But yeah, so here we are now. 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, even, we're in a good spot as Knicks fans. And I think we want to give a lot of credit to the front office for where we're at. And that's something that couldn't have always been said for the Knicks. As I mentioned before, we've had countless opportunities to get like the star player, right? Like the Knicks are always in the running for like the star guy, the decision going back to LeBron, and they just never panned out, never got the right guy. But lo and behold, they've finally figured out a few things to get the right guy. And we say it over and over again, Tom. How the fuck did we end up with Jalen Brunson? Why is he here? Just the grace of
Um,
God, but he is nonetheless.
And he's the
You
reason
gotta go.
that we're hopping on the pod, honestly. We have so many thoughts. I love that we're recording these now because I have so many thoughts, and if no one else is going to listen to them, I'll listen to them again one day because
Right.
we're in the Brunson era. We're here for 4 or 5 years. Whatever you're doing in your life, like you got 4 or 5 years of really good basketball every night or every other night or not in Utah for the most
Yeah.
part of just like 5, 6, maybe it's even a little longer, and that's fun. That's like really fun. If they do the whole thing, that's even better, and then we get to look back like with teary eyed telling our kids. But we have an opportunity here, and it is our job to report the facts, report the unbiased opinions
Yeah.
on the New York Knicks. So let's lock in. Let's do it. Never would have started a pod in the Nate Robinson era, but that's fine.
Right.
Those were the days. Like I didn't even my dad quit so fast on the Knicks for so
Right.
long that I grew up like watching Suns games and Lakers games. Like they were the
Yeah.
only teams on, and like I don't know, you have a choice. Like the Bulls, the Heat, the Cavs. Like that's great, and that's what the NBA is partly. Like if you follow players, but now that the Knicks have those players, it is so awesome. Like there is already nothing better than playoff basketball at MSG, and we got a couple games on our hands over the next few years, and we're here to report the facts. Let's do it, man.
You know what? I'm even willing to say we don't need to report only facts. I think there is an avenue for us to be a little bit biased here, like relish in this.
Oh,
I hear
oh
what you're
yeah,
saying, but like, come on, like we're here for only so long. Like you said, there's a window right now. and I'm gonna fucking relish it. But yeah, we're not casuals, so we know what we're watching, and I think for the most part we can be as level-headed as we possibly can on the Knicks. And yeah, look, man, I just want to say there have been. I want to start talking about like where we came from to where we are now, more so than just like back from when we were absolute shit, right? Let's go back like 2020, 2021. And
Yeah,
I feel
honestly,
like,
honestly though,
go ahead.
first thing I'll say is I think like the point of this podcast, we're gonna do like more X's and O's and go
Mhm.
into all these games for the most part. But today, first inaugural one, we just gotta we just gotta start from the beginning and get to
Yeah,
where we got. So um
yeah,
yeah, we're recording this now, fresh off a Magic win, beat the crap out of the Pelicans. We'll get into all the games. Got slaughtered by Boston to open the year. But
long
like
forgotten,
we'll
honestly.
go big picture to start and then we'll be diving into all of that. So let's do it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And there will be plenty to talk about as the weeks go on, as the season goes on. I mean, we're literally only in December, but eyes on the December Knicks, man. I mean, shit, we're we're here. We're ready to go now. But it's only December, so we'll have plenty to talk about. But yeah, let's move to the past for a sec while we have the opportunity to do so. And like I said, back to like 2020, right? When we first, I think, got a sense of like the Knicks being back. And I feel like we're both in the same boat where we romanticize the players that we have. And like any good fan should, but especially us and especially Knicks fans. And that might be in good taste for the most part, but I do think there is a little bit to be said for the fact that this is a business and there are moves that happen. And off the bat, your visual reaction to these moves are like, damn, bro, that's tough. But in the end of the day, I mean, these are things you kind of have to do. And you look at the team now, and they've made consistently the right move every single time. But it does start with our heroes from way back, Julius, RJ, even IQ. Pour out a cup for those guys. But I mean, yeah, like
I'll
we said, we give a lot of credit to Brunson, but Julius really, like, yo, he got us out the mud, man.
I'll even pinpoint when the Knicks uh rose up, or at least like the bottom. So like they hit rock bottom, and then everyone
Right,
knows what it is. We all know
right,
what it is. It was June 30th, 2019, when Kevin Durant and Kyrie signed with the Nets.
right.
In the span of 2 months, we got the third pick for having literally 14 wins, worst record in the NBA. Missed out
Mhm.
on Zion, missed out on Ja, got RJ Barrett, my sweet prince. Missed out on KD and Kyrie. Went through the beginning, got Julius. We'll talk to him in a second on a fabulous deal. We were so excited about it.
Exactly.
Amidst of all this other nonsense, I remember I was so sad they signed. I had to watch the Dark Knight trilogy that night. Um, then you go through that season, and then that was rock bottom. And then
Right.
March 4th in 2020, the following year. So RJ's now played like 3/4 of a year. Julius has been there for like half a year. Same time, Mitch Robinson's on the roster. At that time, they signed Leon Rose from CAA. He was the lead agent. Clients like Cat, Booker, among a ton of other names in the NBA.
Hmm.
He inherits a roster. The lineup that day was Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Alfred Payton, shout out 20 assists the other night, Taj Gibson, Maurice Harkless, Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Alonzo Trier, and Damian Dotson. That was the team when Leon Rose was inked to the Knicks to replace Perry or Drew,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I think
It
it
was
was
a whole
Perry.
collection of. We were like going. Fizz was. It was right after the Fizz era. It was
Yep.
also there was a bunch of names in the front office that no one could point. Like when they would sign a guy, it's like who's responsible or who's drafting. Now there
Yeah.
is a president in place, Leon Rose, and ever since then it has been great move after great move, small methodical moves, not swinging for the fences of like the old Knicks, getting mellow, getting these huge
Hmm.
deals, landing these huge guys when the rest of the roster wasn't built out. It's these little methodical moves. You could point to any single one of them. There was like six, there was like 4 or 5 huge trades, great draft picks, and just managed the cap perfectly. Now they have one of the most competent front offices in the entire NBA.
Absolutely.
And like I just read you the roster. Now look at the roster. Some people say it's the second best starting five in all of basketball. They did it without a top pick. They essentially had one lottery pick, and he was traded. Even like, there's no homegrown talent. This is all like slow, great moves. Some teams they win the lottery 2 or 3 times. Some teams tank for 5 years and get Joel Embiid and don't do anything with it. And this is really just that was my testimony to Leon Rose because he completely put this franchise on a track that it hasn't been on since the '90s, and we haven't even seen that. It's literally a brand new track for us. It's awesome. You said it like in 2020 during that draft. We're just like, I trust Leon. Like whatever he does at this point, it was so early. We knew all he's done is guide us since, and now every trade we look at, we'll get into some of those specifically. But we're like, you got to trust Leon. Like, all right, we're saying bye to Julius and Dante, but we're getting Cat. Like, you got to trust Leon here. And
Hmm.
yeah, well, that one we knew from the start. But yeah, man, that's what it was. That was the absolute bottom was the KD Kyrie day. Then Leon 9 months later, and now look where we are, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to like even pinpoint that exact moment you're talking about. And like we use this term, I think, when we're talking about like players and their bags, like having an ethical bag. We always say OG's got an ethical bag, right? But this rebuild was so ethical, dude. Like just like if you look at what the Nets got out of Katie and Kyrie, nothing. Like literally nothing. The worst experiment in
Ah,
history. Well, come
no,
on, the
no, that's
worst
not true. That's
experiment
not
in
true. They have a mountain of picks because of KD. Because now the McHale trade is
Mhm.
in that.
Mhm.
No, like that. I would say you can point like maybe the Kyrie trade, but like let's take Dame getting traded. Like there's so many examples of like swinging for the fences that don't work out.
Yeah.
Not the point. I just wouldn't grade the Nets on that because I actually think they've gotten a ton back, and now they have to enter a slow rebuild. But the Nets have been the same culprits of this phenomenon that the Knicks struggle with for so long. It's like literally just big names. The Carmelo deal. How many times do we say, "Wow, we just traded our whole team for Melo"? I love Melo.
Right.
Like that was
Right.
growing up in the Melo days were like awesome. But like
Yeah,
there
I think
was
you would do that trade again, honestly, if you could, probably. But looking back, it's
probably
tough. Hindsight's 2020, but like you get the star, and that's
yeah,
always what. But that's I think this is yeah. I hear you 100%. But my point more so on this is like the idea for the NBA when you're making a trade, it's like if you get the star, you won the deal. I think Leon Rose kind of took that and didn't necessarily like do it word for word. Like he definitely got stars in these deals, right? But he also gave up guys where you're like, damn, like. I'll say for myself, did I know OG was that much better than RJ? Like, not really. I honestly didn't. And like, did I love to see Julius and Devo go? No. But again, like, it's a business, and I think he just made an ethical move in each at each turn. And we have to kind of look at that and say, wow, that's pretty impressive because shit, the Knicks haven't been able to do that, like we said, for 40 years. And even though the Nets may have now sort of figured out a nice little like pocket of space that they've made from like the deal that they got RJ or that they got Katie and Kyrie with, I still wouldn't say that they look at it as a direct success. Like that signing of Katie and Kyrie, you ask Net fans, they would say it's a failure. Up until this
yeah,
point, there hasn't been a move Leon has made that you could pinpoint as a failure. And it's only been
no,
just getting us a little bit better. And that's another point I want to make too. It's like not even leaps and bounds better, but like if you watch the
yep,
games, you see how like little bits of better that the Knicks have become. And now it's like, whoa, they've really culminated into like you said, maybe the best offense in the league. I think last year in January. The Knicks, they're what, 14-2. We're looking at that team and we're like, damn, maybe they can win the finals. But I can't say that this team doesn't look better than that. Even with the defensive problems, even with, the lack of depth now, I still feel like this team has a way better, like this team has a puncher's chance against anyone. And that's kind of hard to get with the Celtics and in the, the Celtics and the Nuggets and, the teams that you have to really face at the end of the year. It's hard to always say, do we have a puncher's chance against this team? I think the Knicks clearly do in all these situations. And yeah, I mean, again, that's full credit to Leon, but he made moves that maybe had visceral reaction, tough to stomach. But like I said, a business, and we're here, and like can't be more happy to have Cat, can't be more happy to have
oh,
Mikhail. And yeah, really.
Yeah, I think no, 100%. Leon, like you just said, it so many little moves that made all the difference. Cam Reddish for Hart, like everyone's like, oh, what? Like, what is that? Doesn't even matter. You go to the comments, it's like Knicks lost this trade. It's like, nope, this guy's actually going to be a Knick for life, and he's going to have 100 triple doubles.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, really.
The best part about the Leon Rose experiment is really his uh doing this with the lack of resources that he did. The Knicks haven't moved up in the lottery since 1985. That is completely unheard of. They've been horrible. How are they
Right.
not moving up? They have
Look
the
at the
worst record. They get
Sixers.
the
How many
third
years in
pick.
a row did the Sixers go to the lottery? Like,
Sixers, T Wolves, Cavs, Pelicans, literally Spurs get Wemby the one
yeah,
year they're bad. Literally, you can look at so that not to like bitch and moan about not getting the luck there, but it's just like acknowledgement of the fact that they haven't. And then you make all these moves with no high lottery picks. Let's take all the top teams in the league and see where they got their stars for the most part. And you know the Celtics, yeah, not everyone gets to draft Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown back to back at number 3. Luka Doncic, number 3. Nikola Jokic drafted hidden gem. The Warriors draft keep Steph his whole career. Cavs draft 2 All Stars, add another superstar. Magic just draft 2 All Star forwards. Like these teams, you have to get like some luck in the NBA, and the Knicks haven't had that, and they've overcame that to now put a contender. What happens from here on out? No one will be like, oh, they didn't move up in the lottery. That's why they lost the finals. No, they have a contender now. They're ready to do this. If they don't lose the finals, it's because they weren't good enough. Like no one's going to question like and to get past that hurdle, I think that's a huge a massive accomplishment that
yeah.
most executives can't really you can't who's done a better job. I mean, I'll point to a ton of executives that are like, world class like Brad Stevens and and Sam Presti, like OKC. Presti to put this OKC as a side note, to put the
Insane.
Thunder together,
Yeah,
like he
insane.
traded for a young Shea, has drafted like literally has hit like 4 lottery picks in a row. I mean, he is the his resume of like the last like 7 years as an
Yeah,
executive is
just
definitely
on
the best.
paper is like insane. Yeah,
It's it's literally a masterclass. Leon
yeah,
is up there though in the top.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean we could go through them all. I'm sure we'll go through them throughout the course of this pod. My favorite is Reddish for Heart because like the
That's
Knicks
so
hive that
slept
was
on.
in the hive that was in the Reddish corner was so funny. Like I remember like it might have been the debut that year.
He had a good
It
game,
was
yeah,
like the
against the Grizzlies or
it was
something.
like
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. The Grizzlies. He
yeah,
came out. It's like we get him the year before. He plays like a couple games, and he comes out and plays like early off the bench and has like 20. And guys are like, he's literally an all star, freaking out, and that like tantalized all these people in Knicks Hive. That then like that's why I love it because just
yeah.
like one moment like that, that's how
Nah,
like
and
crazy
that
Knicks fans are. It's just one little thing, and then you're like ruined for life. It's like we still lost the Reddish trade.
Dude, no, and that's great because remember at that time we were talking about how they were going to be like the Duke Knicks, like, and we just
Oh my
pivot to the
god.
Nova Knicks. Like, we're gonna get
Oh,
Zion. We
top.
already have RJ. What a pivot to the Nova Knicks. That's crazy,
No,
actually.
that's a great shout out. Oh man, the Duke Knicks, and then the that was before a single Nova Nick was on the team. Then we're all of a sudden they're just the Nova Knicks. That's really incredible.
Nah,
They don't feel like
I think Brunson was there though. No, I
no,
think he
no,
might have
no. I
already
don't
been
think
there.
no.
Really?
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe it was that
I
year.
think it
Maybe
was
Cam
Brunson's
Reddish's.
first year. Yeah,
It was the Cam Reddish game was the Brunson debut as well. Then I don't know. That's hilarious
yeah.
to think about.
Nah, it was, but
Um,
we didn't have Josh. Obviously, we obviously didn't have Devo. So yeah, there was no talk of Nova Knicks. I mean, Brunson was overpaid at that point, yo, like dead ass.
hmm.
So there was no Nova Knicks talk.
Brunson overpaid to underpaid like that, and now he's
Yeah,
massively underpaid. Shout out Brunson
yeah,
on that deal. I mean, getting the news of that deal, I was like, statue. No other thoughts.
yeah,
Let's.
yeah,
Brunson's like, put a team around me. I know what it means to win in New York, and that's what they're doing. And that maybe to sum up the whole Leon talk here, like that's what he did with these last 2 trades. He might. I mean, there's not much for him to do now. Like draft well, moves around the
yeah,
edges, but he put the whole team in place for the next 4 years.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
completely within the cap, the first and second apron with like minor moves around the edges, always can afford a vet like campaign or good draft picks. They just, went on a splurge this draft, which I think was really, really good timing. And now they're just locked in. So Leon could even like leave, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, why
But
not? Yeah.
he I don't know what he wants to do, but
Yeah.
just shout out Leon. Like he literally he put the complete foundation, he put the whole thing together. And now as a capstone to all that, Brunson is literally just a superstar. His ascension is why we're here. There's no denying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right. So what do you want to move into next? I do kind of want to talk about the outlook for this season, but is there any unturned stone that we want to turn over before we get into that? Because we've said a lot about the past now, but we do
Yeah,
have to acknowledge the future. So what do you got?
yeah. No, I would say like for the for the for the documenting of what we just talked about, it's great. It's nice to look back on that. It's nice to like celebrate that we get to watch a good team and not where we were when we started in our childhood. But yeah, now this at start of this year, like we said last year when the January Knicks got hurt, we said this is our last year being broke, losing to the Pacers. We were like, this is the last time we can like make excuses.
Yep.
We have a legit team, real aspirations, and anything short of incremental successes in the playoffs
Yeah.
is a failure. So we have that over the course of
Yeah.
next year. And
Yep.
yeah, let's talk about this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I think on that note, it is ECF time. I mean, for sure. If they don't reach the ECF now, it's officially a failure. And that's a tough spot to be in, I guess. I'm not going to complain about it though. I mean, where we've came from, what we all just talked about. But yeah, I think it's ECF or bust, right? Not maybe not even bust. That's probably not the right word, but it's ECF or disappointment for sure. And we were disappointed last year, of course, because we're fans, but looking back on it, what are they going to do? I mean, they got extremely injured, of course. If something like that were to happen again, like, the one-off of injury is always like a looming sort of devil that you have to deal with. But I think for the most part, when you look back on that season, it was a success all through and through. They did the best they could. But now it's no more about the best they could. They really got to go in and get to the ECF. But if they get to the ECF, I think that is where I'm like, okay, everything from here on is a plus. Now, I wouldn't want to go in and get swept by Boston, but if I look at our chances against everyone else in the East against Boston, I really like what we were putting down for sure. I think the Cavs right now are still not giving. You might be of a difference of opinion on me than this, but I'm not really scared of the Cavs yet, and I don't think I will be no matter what, even if they got the one seed. I don't think that I would be too nervous about playing them in the playoffs. Maybe I'll be wrong on that, but not too worried about the Cavs. We know what we got in Boston. I'm definitely not worried about the Bucks, even though they're playing better. Just smoke the Magic, but we know what they can bring if they get Paulo back. And then like the rest of the East is kind of a wash. So at that point, you're kind of looking at West teams, and I don't want to look ahead to the finals and do too much of that. But yeah, so looking at the East right now. Are the Knicks, in your mind, the second favorite to win the finals without a question, without a doubt, no matter what the records say?
Yes. Yeah.
I would.
They
I'm
are.
glad. Yeah,
They
expand
have
on
to
that.
be. They have to be. If you want
Yeah.
to take the Cavs and say the Cavs do certain things really well and they would pose a threat, yeah. If you want to take the Sixers even somehow, I'm going to mention them and say they're fully healthy, they somehow make the playoffs, I would be like, yeah. I don't think Embiid's ever going to be the same. I'll
No.
we'll touch on that later. If you want to take the Magic, I would say I'm most scared of the Magic because their two All-Star forwards are 23 and 22, and I think Paolo is so legit. Like within a
Yeah.
year, it could be better than anyone on the Knicks. And I think once you don't have the best player on the court, that's that could be a problem. So yeah, I would have them this year and next year probably. I would have the Knicks as outright favorites outside of Boston.
Mhm.
If it lines up that they have to play Boston in the second round, that would stink. But
Yeah.
that could be an opportunity to knock them off. I think our Celtic fan friends hearing me say this would call me an idiot, but they are kind of built to play with Boston and stop Boston, at least on paper. Now,
Hmm.
I went to opening night in Boston, and that was horrifying. I'm not sure why I went. got invited. It was
Yeah.
literally a party, and they beat the absolute piss out of the Knicks, and that's scary. They're a wagon. So us, and this is classic. Now I'll just complain as a Knicks fan. Us getting our window when they're just a wagon, like of course, but not going to complain. Uh, yeah, they're legit. So I think the Knicks should. It'll be interesting how they match up against the Cavs, but how they match up against the Magic is what we just saw. And after that game, even with Paolo in the picture, I am just so overly confident in their
Yeah.
ability to just completely blow the doors out of the Magic 4 out of 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah.
They
If you're a
cannot
Magic
hang.
fan, you
I'm
definitely got to be scared at the lack of like 3-point shooting. I mean, in this league, like with the especially with a team like the Knicks with their the way they're playing five out, like yeah, the Magic would
oh,
struggle
I'm
against.
it that game was an aberration. I mean, I feel guilty starting the pod the night after that because that was like one of
Yeah.
the best Nick wins we've seen ever.
And they've
This
low-key
team,
had two like legendary wins in the last like 2 weeks, right? If you count
oh
the
yeah,
Nuggets game,
yeah, and
which
terrible
you have to.
losses. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, no, the Magic, yeah, they just got completely outplayed. They missed 17 threes in a row, so yeah, that's like their own thing.
Right.
But that's going to be on them. Paolo is so good, and Franz is outstanding. Like Franz getting to the rack. His moves off the dribble and his 3-point shooting at 6'10" or whatever, 6'9". Like you don't get that. They basically have two like LeBron prototypes, which is
Yeah.
Paolo is the same thing. Like they can get around defenders like Brunson can, except they're 6 inches, 9 inches taller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be good for a long time. Uh, I'd be confident again, like with the Knicks against them in a series, home or away, doesn't matter. I would
Yeah.
love if they. I guess they won't really match up with them. Um, then yeah, I would actually be scared of some other teams, like maybe even the Bucks more than the Magic at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't even
OG
know if the
played,
Bucks.
yeah. Now the Bucks have a slew of their own problems, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
almost like the
almost
Knicks.
as a Knicks fan, I'm in a weird spot. I'm finding reasons why they would lose to teams. Like I've never been here. This is weird, but like for real,
Yeah,
like
no,
how are the
it's
Bucks
good.
stopping us, dude? Like I mean, for real though.
Well, my last thing on the Magic I'd say is if their superpower is like defense, our superpower is the offense, and it completely broke their superpower. So once
Yeah,
that happens, their offense and our defense, we're gonna cancel them out every time. Like
yeah,
that that was not an outlier game. That the Knicks are gonna do that all the time to them. Similar to other defensive teams like that, I would guess like maybe like the Heat
hmm
or some of these teams that like to play slower. Honestly, like you look in the West, like the Rockets and Thunder kind of play like that, but they're just way more talented. So they don't fall into this bucket.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think enough on the Magic there. Like the Cavs, though, I think that would be a totally different series. The Knicks beat the crap out of the Cavs 2 years ago, and we can't cite this as a huge victory anymore, or else we'd be
yeah,
like Hawks fans.
yeah.
But the Knicks
Different
beat
teams, both of them.
it's a different team. The Knicks beat that team because they were completely more physical. Mitch Robinson, Hartenstein, Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin all had multiple big rebound games. Like they were just bigger, nastier.
hmm
Julius was a dog in that series. Mitchell Robinson was the player of the series with like
hmm
I think he had like 25 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
So they would have to beat the Cavs totally different. And I think the way we would have to play now is a little bit more favorable to the Cavs versus
To
that
the
old team in the
Cavs.
Knicks.
That's a good point. That's a good
So
ass point.
it would just the Knicks probably don't beat them in five. Maybe it's a little longer, or maybe the Knicks gel so much over the course of the next 6 months that they're just way more talented. I think
Yeah,
Mobley is phenomenal. He's not going to be able to cover Cat. Jared Allen's great. He's not going to be able to cover Cat. Their
yeah,
two guards are kind of traffic cones. Like let OG or McHale get on one of them, and that should be cookies. The Knicks played them really well, actually. It was like game five, and the Knicks were up by
yeah.
10, I think, in the third quarter, and they ended up
They were.
losing a close game. But
Garland went off. Yeah,
that was like the second game Cats ever played at the Garden. Like they're,
yeah.
I was like, all right, give them some time.
hmm
And I think they can. I think they're better. I think the Knicks. I think it's clear now. I think they are appropriately the second best team in a tier of their own in the East. Boston by themselves, Knicks by themselves, and then a slew of competitive, some up and coming, um, you know, good competitive basketball teams. But you said
Not
it,
at our level.
ECF or bust kind of. So
Yeah.
we'll see how the seeding works. Hopefully, don't play Boston in the second round. Um, honestly, like I don't want to sound like a loser for saying that, but no, like let's get an ECF. Like this team is too
Yeah.
good. Brunson needs an ECF under his belt. Let's play Boston in the third round. I think it'll be a good series, but let's at least get two wins before
Yeah.
before we have to face them. And that's just a matter
I
of
want to
getting good wins, winning the regular season here.
I want to put one caveat though, because you did mention this. Let's say they play Boston in the semis, like they lose that. Is that a bust? I would
No,
say probably nah. Yeah, like
no,
that's the
no.
one
They
thing.
have a year they have a year here with the Cat Brunson like figuring it out. But if they're healthy, like if we go into the playoffs and all five starters are like ready to go healthy, I would probably say that's a bust. Like this team is
Wow.
seriously talented. You need more than 82 games to like reach your at least like your 90-95% peak.
Hmm.
Um I would say so. I would say like okay, if you look back in the history books, it's like, three straight years of it's like the
Yeah,
Sixers.
that's all they'll
So
say.
that would
Yeah.
be that would be pretty frustrating. Yeah. But you can look past it and say, all right, we lost to the defending champs going for their back-to-back repeat. You
Yeah.
can excuse it basically. Um, but yeah, they need to beat every other team here. Uh, they need to beat the Bucks. They'll play one of these teams in the first round, like Hawks, Bucks, Heat.
I don't know.
Pacers
I
stink.
heard Jimmy might get traded though. The Heat might be like blowing it up low key, but I mean, this isn't
Now
a
the Heat
Heat
stink.
pod, so like the Heat
Nah,
stink. Yeah, there's nothing to say.
the East stinks, dude. The East
The East
stinks.
stinks. The
Literally,
East stinks.
after the Bucks, there's five teams. There's one really good team, the Knicks. There's one really good team, Boston. Then there's the Knicks. Then there's the Magic. Then there's the Cavs. Then there's the Bucks. People are
Hmm.
probably mad that I'm saying the Cavs are lower, but they just have a really good record. They're winning. They're benefiting
Yeah,
from
for sure.
continuity.
Yeah, and I just think that there's something to be said for like what they've been doing previously in the playoffs, which is not impressive. I mean, you're going to have to do something. They haven't gotten out of the first round yet, so they
No, they
have
did
they
last
even.
year. They beat the Magic.
You're right. They beat the
Yeah.
Magic in seven. Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right. Well, they beat the Magic in seven, so. I guess both those teams are kind of on a simmer. Nah. I guess the Cavs are a few years ahead of like where the Magic were, which is funny because I feel like the Cavs were probably in the spot that the Magic were last year when they played the Knicks 2 years ago. So like maybe the Magic could hop over them, but yeah, you're right. The record right now speaks for itself. But the East is just so
The East
bad, really.
is
The bottom of the East
yeah.
is tough, dude. It's a couple
It's
good
widely
players like Trey, I guess, and like the Hawks.
yeah,
Like
I actually love what I've seen out of the Hawks this year. Dyson
yeah,
Daniels looks amazing. He's a
yeah,
guy like they got him for nothing. They actually got him as a throw-in as getting rid of
literally.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, the Pelicans
Uh,
didn't want him.
I'll always be a little bit like skeptical. I mean, not skeptical, interested in what the Hawks are doing from like a Knicks perspective because
We got him for
uh
the cup, dude. That's our first game. Next,
yeah.
yeah,
Hawks at the Garden. I'll be there, I think.
be
I'm gonna
lit.
try and bring my boss because he'll be in town. So
Nice.
we'll see how that goes.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
electric,
gonna be
yeah.
fire. The the Knicks have played the least. I think they've played the most road games or the least home games. One of the two, depending on how it like. So
Yeah,
for them, they're on like a 4 or 5 game homestand right now. Their December schedule is just
yeah,
y-
yeah.
yams, cornbread, mac and
Yams,
cheese.
cornbread, oxtail. Dude, no.
That
That's the NBA though, man. I mean, there is something to be said for that as well. And the Knicks they already got over that hump in 2020, back with Julius, back with RJ. Like they got over that hump of like, all right, yeah, Hornets, Pistons, even the Raptors. Like that's the Raptors actually play us well, which is annoying, and they may play us well
and
again,
they're good
but
this. They're frisky this year. They're fun.
they're spunky. Like they're
No,
fun. Yeah, that's a.
they're good. They're actually good. I think it'll be competitive.
But they're not doing anything in the playoffs. Like they're
No,
fun. I'll leave it at that. But still, those are like games where you're getting 80% of those wins. Like to say the Knicks can't put together a 48 win season without really having to work that hard. Yeah, I know, but like 48 and like they did everything they're supposed to and nothing more. That's probably super feasible. And I think we both said this. If they get a 4 seed or above, I'm fine with that. Like obviously I don't want to play Boston, but like Cleveland could be the 1 seed, Boston could be the 2, and then that works out that way. So just a home playoff series for round one is all that I really care about. And I think that's something that I don't know if Tibbs is like finally coming around to that idea. Doesn't seem like it yet, but maybe a little bit more so than it used to be. I mean, Josh is still getting like OD minutes and like Brunson does for them. Nah, you know what? Campaign plays enough now, right? Shout out our boy, where I don't think Brunson is putting up like 48 a night anymore. It's really just Josh, who's just a warrior, probably wants to do that. But yeah, I would love for Tibbs to start throwing in the rookies a little bit more. I mean, he's been doing it a little bit, but I would love to see it a little bit more in some of in some of these games. Like last night, it still took to like 5 minutes where they had the rookies in, and I kind of understand why Tibbs doesn't do it because it is a rough watch.
dude, our
Sims at the
rookies,
4 is bad.
the
Like they
deep
don't
bench
have a.
is
It's terrible, dude. I would
the
actually
deep
say the
bench is
offense
really
might be
suspect.
worse. The
The
offense
deep
might
bench
be
is
worse, dude.
so sus.
Oh, the deep bench. I thought you said the defense on the deep bench. Yeah. I mean,
No,
it's
the
sus,
deep
but it's
bench.
young. It's young, and I would love to just see it a little bit more in spurts. Like, I don't know. Hukporti is like a mystery to me. I don't really know why he's not playing, but Sims has played better, so maybe that's why. And I don't know. I would just love for them to take a little bit more of like the Sixers route, which they'll never do, and they don't have to go all in like that. But it's like, dude, do we really need to see these guys? Like OG hits the floor, I wince every time. So I don't know. I would love to see a little bit more management in that, but maybe I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah. I think what if we get like minutes management from Tibbs in the sense like not like you play a full competitive game, like your star plays 36, like our stars play 42 or more. But you get them like, all right, we're either gonna blow teams out or get blown out, and then they only play 36. That's happened the last. It's happened like three of the
It's
last four
happened.
games.
Yeah, it's happened.
Um, but yeah, no, I think he's getting a little better. I think the fact that we drafted four rookies this year, they're here for the Brunson cat like whole thing.
Yeah.
We've had really good drafts lately. You got IQ 23, Obi was 8, fine. You got Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, Jericho Sims, Mitch Robinson. All these guys are 25 or later. They're all
Yeah.
impact players. Some of them got traded. Deuce McBride, we've been on from the start. We could have a whole pod on Deuce McBride out of West Virginia. Picked them to win March Madness that year. They totally flopped. That's not the point. He comes out. You told me today, rookie year, 40% true shooting. Now, when we need him the most, 60% true shooting.
It's
The guy
crazy.
comes in. He is automatic. He has the purest jump shot. He gets like 3 feet off the ground. So pure, and the guy makes like $3 million. So, um, anyway, that was my Deuce tangent. They brought in these rookies, so like, yeah, it's like a hodgepodge of like who's here. Matt Ryan makes an appearance. I think the deep bench is important for the regular season. You
Right.
see how the Knicks benefited last year. That's how they won a ton of games early. Is like our bench would come in and hold us over, get us like an 8 point swing, 8 point lead, 12 point lead even. Uh, that we're missing, but that you can find. You don't find cat on the street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll figure that part out. Yeah, like you want to. I want to see. I'm really excited for the first game that Brunson just rests
Right.
because it's
Dude,
gonna be fun.
Yeah, Deuce Cam Kolick, like run those guys out there for a whole 48. I'm down.
It's literally Deuce and Cam. Cam runs a fine offense, but then Mikhail
Yeah.
like just get aggressive. OG
Yeah.
switch, get a small guy. Let's see that bag. Cat
Yeah.
offense goes through you. Like
Yeah.
we can totally afford to do that now. And that is what I want to see out of Tibbs. Brunson played like 26 minutes last night. Like that was great. He
Perfect. Yeah.
barely showed up. Um, he showed up. He just didn't have to stand.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the deep bench it'll find itself.
Yeah.
But that I mean the last thing on that is campaign. Like, thanks for coming over. You have the best job in sports, maybe
Yeah.
one of the best jobs. Alec Burks had it last year. Quickly kind of had it. D Rose had it for a little bit. Like being the being the off the bench scorer at MSG, you get to do literally whatever you want, make millions of dollars, live in Manhattan. You're gonna have a good year, and you might have another good year. And whoever signs up next year and the year after, and maybe in the middle of this year, to just be a vet min guy on the Knicks, like we're gonna need those guys to play
Oh,
minutes. And you might play, remember when Bobby Portis was here? You might play like 12 to
Marcus
15
Morris,
minutes,
like,
but you get to do whatever you want. It is
yeah,
so
no,
fun. Like just have high impact plays and
yeah,
you're gonna be a made man in Manhattan. It's so fun. Campaign, shout out to you
yeah.
for showing up and just he saw it. He saw it when we played the Sixers. He's like, damn,
Saw the
fuck
vision,
this
yo,
team.
for
I
real.
want to go over there. That looks way more fun.
Yo, yeah, for real. In the playoffs, when he saw his home court turn into a Knicks, it turned into MSG, he was like, bro, I'm about to just play there, yo, for real. So yeah, shout out Cam. Yeah, we talked about him a lot yesterday. I just love what I see from him, and for sure getting that MSG tax and taking it to the bank. But all right, so I want to segue this a little bit because we're talking a lot now about like regular season keys and like things that they can do to like, juice up the wins a little bit and just get to the playoffs. But I think, like we've said, they've kind of already covered that in terms of like we've seen that. We know they can do it. Great. This is just like what they need to do for this year. What do you think the keys are, or maybe the one key if you have one, but I would say there are likely multiple to actually going ahead and like winning in the playoffs, right? With the roster as it's currently constructed, would you say it's like one player playing well? Would you say it's like one side of the ball playing better than the other? Like, what would you put if you had to put it down on paper? What are your keys to actually going ahead and doing this thing?
Wow. Okay, that's really good. You should have told me that before because I would have thought about
Sorry.
it more.
All
Um,
right.
I don't know. This is good. This is just off the whim, what I've seen from this team, the first thing I'll say is they have the pieces in place. They can literally win a championship right now.
Right.
They're ready to do
Right.
that.
Which is important. That's
Uh,
a step that we
I
didn't know for sure if they were there with the last roster. Now
haven't
I think they are.
haven't been able to say that confidently ever.
Ever.
Maybe after the January Knicks last year, you could say it, but then it never like happened with the
It
injuries.
never like manifested itself.
Um,
Yeah.
Shout out iHeart, man. Like he literally dominoed. He left for reasons that Knicks couldn't pay him with the cap and the bullshit CBA, and he wanted to
Yeah.
stay here, couldn't. Maybe he does if like there's a whole world where he's on the team, and I don't know. I love that guy. So all right, so if there's any one thing I can point to, I think it would be the defense getting like a tempo and being able to control it, which might start with Mitch, but it
Right.
might just be more cohesion and better play from the wings, to be quite frank. But they need to be able to slow the game down and win more defensive battles, even if it costs them offensive possessions. That needs to be in their arsenal.
Hmm.
And they might be able to get that strictly by replacing Cat with Mitch. If Mitch is as good as he was, like his peak ceiling to start last year, he was on every depoy like
Yeah.
watch through the first 15, like 20 something games.
Absolutely.
And that was awesome. Like he's such a good offensive rebound, defensive rebounder, block rate, good in foul trouble, 7 footer, terrible at free throws. Not the point. Literally takes 2 shots a game. So that's the number one thing is can we like channel a good defense for periods of time? The offense will win us games. They'll win us series. They'll win us the ring ultimately. They have the number one offense in the league. We know this. But there are going to be times where you need to shut down a hot offense or like they're just raining threes. They're getting way too many open threes. Like let's put pressure on the outside of the arc with, sacrificing OG sliding help in the paint. Like Mitch, you have to hold this down.
Yeah.
uh, we need to be able to get to that point. So, Mitch, Precious, OG, and then combinations of like Mikhail, Hart, Deuce. We want to see like a jail cell. I think they just have to tap into that. Like that has to be something that they can pull out. Um, I think Mitch could be such a strategic piece in this. He could play like 12 to 16 minutes and make such an impact. You take out our best offensive players, you completely slow the game down. You maybe cut the possessions by like a third just by
Right.
doing that.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's my number one thing I want to see. That's what I'm watching for over the next, 20 games.
Yeah, and off on that, I wonder if we are like in a bit of a Knicks bubble, I'll say. And are we looking at Mitch Robinson? Like I feel like me and you and even probably a fair amount of Knicks fans look at Mitch Robinson and him coming back and being like, yeah, that's exactly what we need. Like it's going to be a huge, huge addition. But is that because we live in the Knicks bubble and we know that, or is that like widely known? Like is that like outside of our bubble? Is that a crazy take? Because I really kind of do agree. It really could be that simple. It really could be that simple. Is that a crazy take if you're just in the NBA sphere outside of the Knicks bubble, would you say?
It's hard to
Like do
gauge
people
because
are
I'm in the
people
bubble.
hip? Are people hip? Like are we
No,
crazy?
I've heard like some opinions on like pods or shows or Twitter or whatever. Some opinions are like Knicks think Mitch can solve their defensive problems. Like he's not a 5-man defense, but I think the problems get solved over time,
Right. So
chemistry,
the combination
and
of
then
both.
and then adding a piece like that where it's
Yeah.
just like, oh wait, these Knicks aren't five out, like running up and down the floor. Like they're more compact. You have Josh Hart who averages 12 boards as your guard. Like if they can just show a different identity, I think that like will help them because you don't. That's not your whole identity, but that's your identity with 2 minutes left to go in the quarter,
Right. Right.
or depending on what the opposing personnel is. And I think that's so important. Like if I said it the other day, we were talking about it. You get like a 20-point lead on the Suns. Let's honestly, Cat, like take a breather. Let's get Mitch
Yeah.
in there. Let's slow the game down. Let's get our
Exactly.
best defenders on the court and see what we can do. Can we mitigate this for a little instead
Yeah.
of going through that bench period like the 15-15 or like just winning it, make it like 8-8, like really
Yeah.
shrink the game and shorten the game like that. I think that's an identity they need. So in terms of who, if it's possible out of, I think it is. Like I think it totally is there. Not necessarily from Mitch and Precious coming back, but like chemistry. And I
Yeah.
think that's where Tibbs will come in. Like Tibbs, everyone, how many times do we say he's not an offensive coach? Like the past 4 years when it was just ISO ball with Julius.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they have the best offense in the league. It's like almost as if that depends on the players, not the coach.
Right.
But Tibbs
Right.
is a defensive guy. He knows how to put Cat into the right place. Cat's gotten a little better. He was wrongfully accused of having terrible rim protection. It's not great. It's not better than average, but it was like painted like he is literally like Jalen Brunson trying to guard the rim. Like Cat's
Yeah.
fine, dude. He's
Yeah.
he's getting better too. So
Yeah. And I think that that's pretty clear he was, at least to me, that he was doing so much on offense. And then you're asking him to also be like the eraser down low. He was never that number one in his career. And number two, yeah, now I think he's having his best, not think, he is having his best offensive season ever. That obviously is going to come at the expense of your defense to an extent. We see that with Brunson's physical stature obviously hurts him as well on the defensive end, but we see that. We see that from Brunson. Like there are times where it's like, dude, low key switch. Like, come on, like you're not gonna put it down like Mikhail could. Pause. But yeah, I think what you said is pretty fucking accurate because you look at like even like they win it, right? But the Charlotte game, the Utah game, like there are going to be games and there are going to be games in a 7 game series where your offense is you're just not hitting. Like you're getting open shots and they're just not going in. And you have to be able to say, all right, word, we're just going to get to the line for like a quarter and we're going to hold their team to as many like slow possessions, tough makes, and fouls on their end, like send them to the line. And like you said, just slow the game down. Like if anything, you go to the rim on Mitch Robinson, he's either blocking it or he's hacking the shit out of you and you're going to the line. And like that's still in itself slows the game down and I think like you said kind of adds another look that you just need. The offense is so efficient right now. As efficient as I've ever seen it, one of the most efficient in the league like you said. But you'll miss shots on days and even against the worst teams in the league like against Charlotte where they had nobody or against Utah and against Charlotte, where they don't even have their starters in. LaMelo's not even playing, and they just can't hit. And you gotta be. They did pull it out, and I even said to you, like that was a big win, even though it was against Charlotte. Like that was a big win to be able to pull out when they played so horribly, and they haven't lost since. So like, shout out. But yeah, you got to be able to win games in different ways, especially in a 7 game series. So I think for sure you got to be able to just slow the game down and get back to a little bit of that like fuck it, ISO ball, Brunson. Like we're gonna take 24 seconds to get a shot every time down the court right
Oh,
now.
I mean, with 2 minutes left, like to have a guy that can actually do that is just a gift.
It's
Like
insane. Yeah,
Brunson can really, yeah. So when we have to, we will do that. But for the
yeah.
most part, don't want to have to rely on it too much.
Yeah. I think another like more glaring thing that people would say is like the emergence or the ongoing emergence of Mikhail being a big X factor in us winning. And I think that's like clear and obvious, and I'll agree to that for sure. I think if he, I mean, it's not really even a bold take to say, yeah, if Mikhail is doing what he did for the Nets, like the Knicks are unreal. They have four guys then that can just go get a bucket whenever. Like that's pretty hard to. The Celtics have that, and that's probably it in the whole league. Four guys, if you're counting OG, which maybe some people wouldn't as well. But if you're watching the games, like the dude is literally like pushing all-star territory now. So yeah, Mikhail makes that jump, and I think that's another like okay, wow piece that like moves you up into real finals contender territory. But I've said it a bunch. I think Mikhail really, even if he's not shoot, I don't. I'm honestly going to say I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think really what we're getting out of Mikhail now is maybe like he should be a little bit more efficient. I would say in a perfect world, especially from three. But I don't know if we're going to get much more production, like just numbers never lie type shit out of Mikhail. He's probably going to be at max a 20 point per game scorer like on a normal night when everyone's healthy, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like I really think that's fine because he is unlocking stuff that I don't think we even saw last year with Devo, right? Like Devo, obviously better shooter, better 3 point shooter, but I don't think he was doing the type of stuff like he wasn't unlocking the certain zones that on the offense that Mikhail can unlock in the mid range. Just the way he cuts too, the way he finishes. I think that is something we're gonna get from Mikhail no matter what every night, and that might be enough as it is now. I don't think him. I don't. I think there's just a two-part take. I don't know if he can be any better than he is right now. I also don't know if it would be like productive. I don't know if the net would be that positive to say, okay, Mikhail, now you're scoring 25 a game. I just don't know. I don't know if that actually is a better look for the Knicks. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but
I like agree in parts, but I would say he needs to be better. He has to be. I mean, it's plain and simple. But you might be basing it off like the last 3 games. He's been great, but the
as a
last like
whole,
10 games,
no.
he's had like bad games, like
Yeah.
inexcusable games, and that's what can happen. I think like what you saw, like he had 30 against the Pelicans, another 20 last night, efficient shooting. Yeah, that is what we're going to get on a night to night basis, and that's great. That's almost always going to be what we need from him with good defense, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
but it needs to be super consistent, and I think it will be. The reasons I'm confident are like we love the looks. Like we know he's being a little bit more aggressive right now to get into his groove. Like we kind of called it out in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Even the very first game, like remember that second half, I was like, oh,
Just
Mikhail's like
finding
really
his shot.
firing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like not afraid to shoot anything. Like I like that. I like that test because we're gonna need it. Like I would love to see him like more end of first quarter, early second quarter. Brunson's not initiating, neither is Cat. Like Mikhail, like go like just create, get your shot for like 3 or 4 possessions. Want to see that a little bit more. On the defensive end, I need to see him like he needs to be elite at getting through screens. Like he should never have to be. We should never be have to fall into a switch when he's guarding their best guards. That is like way asking for way too much. But it should be like rarer. He was so that's why he was almost a decoy in Phoenix. He needs to get back to that a little bit. I know he's a little older, but it's not like he's heavier or slower. So I need to see it just a tiny bit more there. But yeah, like he is so good at picking his spots. You said it. Like he
Right.
slices this defense. Oh, all of a sudden they're like pushing out on me. I'm going to catch, dribble, one fake. I'm getting my midi, fade
Yeah.
away every time. It's so good.
And just not something we didn't have last year out of anyone.
No, no, that is an elite 3 level scorer,
Yeah.
and he is now on the team, and he's going to find his groove. But I would only counter you by saying like he needs to be better. And
Okay.
only the like better in the sense that like he needs to be able to do this every night. You can't have nights where he goes 2 of 14 with 6 points. That
Yeah.
has to be like once in a blue moon. Every NBA player has that. I know not every NBA player is LeBron James, but when you have Cat and Brunson on your team, like you can't be missing 12 open shots because they're usually open. It's his move, it's his shot. He wants it.
Yeah.
But he's going to be better. He's getting better every single game. The only thing with Mikhail that's scary is the haul. I think like as a Knicks fan, like we've been sitting on this stockpile for so long. It's so nice to be like, we're getting better, and now we have like the picks. Like, let's go do it. We're getting Giannis. We're getting Jokic. No one ever said that.
Giannis is
But now,
already still out
like
there.
we used it. This is the team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
part of that is like a little bit of closure. Like, here's the team. Let's like fully lock in. Maybe that's why we're doing the pod in the first place. But yeah, I Mikhail, he's a great player. He's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. I'm
I
very
mean,
confident in him. That's your boy. That's your boy.
yeah. Well, the hall was middle schoolers, so like I'm not necessarily too blown. I don't know if there's anyone that they like. Let me just counter that one specific point, even though like I hear you. Is there like what draft pick are you going to get that ends up being as good as this? Even the shitty version of Mikhail, you're probably still not getting that. I don't know. I just draft picks in the
Not
NBA.
in Brunson's prime. No,
Yeah. I
not in
mean,
Brunson's prime.
yeah. Listen, NBA draft picks they're we just you never know. You just never know. I'm not going to be one to ever be like the guy that says hold on to your picks, hold on to your picks. Like get a guy, get a player. I don't
Yeah.
want like a piece of paper, but no, all right. All valid points. I definitely hear you on all of them, but I want
But
to this is maybe like a go ahead. No, please.
if the Nets, so the Nets are like infamous for trading Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, those picks that became those
Yeah,
two,
for
and they
KG.
get clowned
Yeah.
for it all the time. If God forbid the Nets get like an all star from a Knicks pick, even if they pick him at like 20 or whatever, if they get a good guy, like Knicks fans will never hear the end of it. For some reason, there's like I don't know what
Right.
like Nets fans like there's more than I thought actually. Like I don't know who's a Nets fan anymore and like
Out
who's
of the
like
blue.
proud to be a Nets fan, but they're out here, man, and we would never hear the end of it. But yeah, it's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. But all right, no. And then one more point. I guess this is like maybe even a weird question. If I ask it wrong, like so be it. But okay, you brought up Mikhail going 2 for 14. Would you rather see, or are you more upset, I guess, in a situation where Mikhail has a bad game? Are you more upset at those like 10 misses or those 12 misses? Or are you more like upset about the fact that he took that many shots? Like I guess my point is I'm not too concerned about Mikhail if he goes 2 of 7 and he's just picking his spots, like keeping like being in the right spots, picking his spots, keeping the offense going. I don't necessarily love the fact that he like has to get those shots up. If he's not hot, just don't take the shot. Drive, pass it. Like I don't need to see 14. I'm cool if you're off 2 of 7. Don't make it into 2 of 14. And maybe like we're saying that is him like pushing the envelope, trying to find his spots because it's early in the year. But if it gets to later in the year and he's just like off, like I feel like you could even see it. It's like, damn, okay, Mikhail, like it's not your night. Like it's not looking good right now. You've already missed 3. I'm good with him just saying, all right, I'm not going to take 10 more shots. I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to do all the other things that I do well. Cut, layups, defense, like all that kind of stuff. And I guess my point is I'm good with if that is how we see Mikhail for the rest of the year. If he's having a bad night, it's a low shot. It's a low volume night. And that's just what it's going to be. I don't know if we can like hope for much more than that. That's maybe my concern and maybe I'm just, I'm cushioning myself for like the idea that that could be what we look at, but I think there's some validity to it. Like I just don't think he needs to get up all the looks, even if he's open. Like you don't need to always
Yeah,
get it up, and maybe that's fine.
no, I totally agree. I think
Yeah,
you can kind of great like he's gonna whether he makes 3 out of 8 or 7 out of 8 of those little mid fadeaways. Like we want him taking them. He's gonna hit them in the aggregate. He's not gonna lose that. He's not gonna forget how to do it. I
right.
put those in a bin over here. Don't worry about him. I'll grade. It's the eye test with him, and like it's the eye test with every player.
Right.
You know
That's
when he's
fair.
playing well or not playing
Yeah.
well. It's open corner threes. Him, an OG. You have to hit those and
Yeah.
Deuce, whoever. Like those are the ones. Like if you miss like 4 of those, it's like that's bad.
Yeah.
If you only take one and you miss it, that's not bad. That's just like a product of the offense. But those are the ones where like he gets graded for, and then really like his blow bys on defense. He cannot be the
Yeah.
reason that Cat picks up fouls
Yeah,
because he's getting
facts,
blown by, let
facts.
alone if there's a pick or not, like it goes into a whole thing. But like those are really the two plays I'm grading him on.
Oh yeah,
And he's had games where both have been bad, and that's really why that fires people up. He
yeah,
knows that like he's getting his shots when he gets off the dribble and beats someone and takes a midi. I literally will take that every day. I love it. He loves it. The team loves it. We need
yeah.
10 of those a game, and he does it, and he does it well. It's those other two that were that's how he
Uh,
gets graded right now, and that's just the nature of
I
the
like that.
NBA. It's just like so
Nah,
you
I
could
like that. I like that. If anything, like keep it simple, dude. Like these are what we're looking at. Like I don't care about anything else. Like dead ass, keep it simple, do these two things well. And that's even a good point too. I feel like if you're looking at the roster right now, they have like slots of roles where it's like Mikhail and OG, you get that corner three, you're putting it up and you got to make it. Like that's those two guys role. And then like you got Cat and you got Brunson. It's like we need 20 and 10 from you guys. Brunson assists, Cat rebounds. Like we need 20 and 10 a night from you guys. That's fine. Hart, we need you to get rebounds, initiate the offense, and like get your little
no.
Draymond. Doesn't have to do.
Best job in the world. Heart, no
Yeah,
expectations.
yeah, you're right.
Fun.
You're right.
Get like a nice like in your chest lay. Get that
Yeah,
face on.
stank face it.
Man,
Get a couple like crazy rebounds where it's like, oh my God, he's 6'4" and he has 12. Like a couple of those nights. Like he has no, I
the
guess, yeah, he's like the amoeba role. Like he has that amoeba role that like, I guess if you're looking at there's anyone else on the roster to do that, it would there's probably no one. Josh is in his
Precious.
own. Yeah, maybe Precious. I was gonna say Precious or like in the future it'd be Daddy A, but like that's way down the road. But yeah, there's a
No,
limited role.
dad.
I like
We
Daddy
gotta
A. I
just
like it.
we gotta chop. We'll just chop the rookies one day.
The Rooks, yeah. We gotta have a Rooks pod. That's perfect. Actually, we'll do that. They have enough. Like you said, they finally have like a rookie core. Like they have not had that ever. Like never, dude. It
Yeah,
was RJ and IQ.
yeah.
Like
Shout out.
these guys were like getting too many minutes for them for me to be able to appreciate like them being rookies. Like this rookie class is great because we're actually watching them like develop in front of our eyes. Like every moment, every shot made, I'm like, oh shit, like Daddy, nice, Kolek, nice. Like it's cool. But yeah, we'll have to have a pod for just the Rooks. But yeah, so Josh is that like amoeba role, and then you got like the spark role, Cam and Deuce off the bench, and like it really does like fit in so well. And it's like storybook. Like each chapter is like another player, another piece in this roster. It is. It's almost I'm almost romanticizing it too much now, but yeah, it's great. It's great.
They have. I mean, I think we'll probably close this out,
Yeah,
but they have the best offensive rating in the NBA now and already. It
a
didn't start
Tom
like that.
Thibodeau coach team, like
Tom
unbelievable.
Thibodeau, best offensive rating in the league. If you go back, if you filter it like uh the full season, so 22 games, 21 games, or if you go like last 10, last 5, last 2, last 15,
Yeah,
any segment, they still have the best offense. And that just means they have the best offense right now, and it's getting increasingly better every single
yeah,
day. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
They put up 140 back to back the other week, 140 on the Nuggets, 120 on the stifling number one defense Magic. It's literally like we've never seen this. It's like watching the Bills or the Lions in football and going, wow, the Giants will never have an offense like this, like ever.
Yeah.
And
It's a
now
different
the
sport they're
Knicks
playing.
and now the Knicks like have it. It's like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
It's so fun. And the defense will come just with chemistry.
Yeah.
Defense is so much more chem driven than people give credit for. But
Yeah.
we'll see, man. It's
Yeah. No,
we're
I
here.
think
We
I think
here.
we can sort of end it on that note. I think really right now we're just looking for like little bits of more chem and like cat throwing passes like last night and like that kind of shit is like I said this to you, that's the sign of like holy shit you're transcending. Like once your star player is throwing like ridiculous passes, they're at a new level. Like they're in flow state. Like that is literally that's
Flow
it right
state.
there. I'm telling you, dude, that is flow state. Like cat through the legs. Like what was that little like unneeded but perfect, but
And Mikhail
perfect.
missed the open three, by the
Kale
way. Like
misses, bro.
I'm not even mad at him. He'll hit that, and if he hits that, it goes so viral. Like newest
Yeah,
Knicks, that was such a
yeah,
clip. Now remember
yeah.
when someone no, this is gonna be bad now. Mikhail like broke someone, and then someone else missed the three. It was gonna be such a highlight, and we
Oh
missed
yeah,
that
no,
one.
Brunson, dude, it was Brunson.
Oh,
Yes,
Brunson,
Mikhail
and it was gonna
broke
be.
it. Brunson missed
Oh,
the
and
three.
Brunson missed the three. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll get those, but they have these plays that you're just like, oh my God, man.
yeah, that's some shit I haven't
Yeah,
seen.
it's man. Well, Precious is coming back
Next
this
week or
week,
next week or next week. Yeah,
this
we'll
week or
see.
next week or the week after.
Uh,
He's a demon.
Mini Mitch, man. Maybe he starts that little segment we had about Mitch. He gives us a little showing of what we could look like with like Mitch in there. Maybe, maybe.
I think he's so good at basketball. I think he's OG without the shot, honestly.
But like without the shot
And
though, that shit ain't going in if he's shooting
oh,
it.
I, I remember I remember his first game he took two threes. I was like, that's not happening, brother. Like,
Yeah.
and then he dialed it back completely. He takes one every once in a while, and I'm fine
Right.
with it. Maybe he's allowed to take corner threes. Like maybe that's Thibodeau's rule. That's not up to me,
Exactly.
man.
Exactly.
So
Take the corner three if you're open. Fuck it. But yeah.
shout out, man.
All
Let's
right.
do
I
this.
think we've
Yeah,
said enough for the first pod. Like I said, like we both said, we definitely will have a little bit more nitty-gritty in-season talk for you, but we had to just get the vibes out there now, riding the high of last game and the high of this season and the high of everything that we just talked about. So let's go Knicks. Let's call it OTD Pod, Knicks edition. Out.
yeah. Submit your questions to OTD at pod dot AI.